Good morning and welcome to the Dunton Homestead. It's January 2nd and I am really excited about making plans for the 2023 garden. I'm thinking in terms of planting things earlier that can handle it and getting them harvested and out of the way before the summer garden goes in. I'm going to attempt to seasonally plant more from what my experience has been so far down here the last couple of years. Just trying to make it work with what the experience has been. Now, no one can predict what the weather is actually going to be. I mean, who could predict the Arctic freeze we had a couple weeks ago? We very well could have another one of those that kind of hit like a big part of the country. A lot of people had a lot of devastation with that. We were not one of them. We were fine. I mean, anything that was in the garden, was gone. I mean, it was already gone past. I had my broccoli plants may have given me a few more florets, but I didn't really plant enough, and they hadn't. The timing of me putting them in must have been off. If I had put them in a little bit earlier in the fall, maybe they would have done better. So, whereas I got so many broccoli seeds last year, had so many of them that I was able to save. I'm going to be starting some broccoli seeds this week. I'm going to plan on putting the entire upper garden with broccoli, cauliflower, and maybe some Brussels sprouts if I still have seeds. The Brussels sprouts never did anything. I haven't actually been down there to look to see if they survived the Arctic chill. I doubt that they did, because they hadn't even started looking like Brussels sprouts yet. I'm going to see if I can beat the insect infestation that we get and not be calling those kind of things in to get our other summer crops. If I can get the broccoli started in the house, out into the garden within the next month to 6 weeks. Broccoli takes 60 to 70 days to fully mature, and cauliflower takes 70 to 80 days. I'm not sure about Brussels sprouts. I haven't looked them up recently and did not commit it to memory. But if I play my cards right and we don't have any more crazy, unseasonally wet and seasonable weather, I might be able to get a decent broccoli crop before spring really happens. And that's what my plans are going to be. Like one of the last videos I did, we were having some problems with our chickens. And so we had only lost that one chicken that I think broke its neck. I think it might have gotten in a fight with somebody else, because it did not look sick. It wasn't egg bound. There was nothing that seemed to be anything wrong with it. It looked perfectly healthy, except for it was just dead when I opened up the door. So I'm thinking that they might have gotten into some type of a fight. Those girls can be pretty mean to each other. And it just died. Since then, we had another chicken that was clearly not feeling well. When we brought that chicken into the house, I named it Raven. Didn't have a name before, now it has a name. Kept her in the house in a dog crate in our dining room, which we don't use very often for a dining room, for a week. We gave her I gave her a lot of extra protein, put apple cider vinegar in her water, really kept a close eye on her. And then after a few days, she started doing her like call, like she was gonna lay an egg. She never did. And then suddenly one of our roosters, Rainy, during the Arctic chill, he got frostbitten. He was the only one that suffered any type of damage. The other roosters are absolutely fine. They're all in the same place together, with the exception of Beast, when we separated it out. When we took Beast out from the ladies, we didn't want to put him in with the other roosters because they would have beat up on him, and he wouldn't have had a chance. So we just have him separated into the chicken tractor. Well, we put Raven in with him, and now they snuggle up together at night. And the other day she laid an egg. So that's kind of cool. I think she's a Moran chicken. I think that's what Rick says she was. And they don't lay all the time anyway. They're not like a heavy layer. Also, this time of year, all of the chickens lay down. They slowed down. We went from getting like max in the summertime, sometimes 26 eggs, down to then 15, and now we're lucky if we're getting a half a dozen a day. But they seem to be, Beast and Raven seem to be doing really well together. She seems happy. She doesn't seem ill at all. She follows me around the cage when I come around, and I think Beast was welcoming to her because, you know, he went from having 27 ladies to being all by himself. But I made a little makeshift nesting box because she was kind of like laying, that egg was like underneath right where they're roosting at night, and you can tell because it was like a bunch of poop. The rest of the girls all seem to be doing good. They survived. No one got any frostbite damage, so that's cool. Because it's been so cold, I haven't turned the compost heaps. I haven't turned them in a while. I mean, they were frozen, but they're still jumping in there when I'm throwing scratch in there and doing their thing. So it is still breaking down a bit. Now these guys here, they were the first ones pulled because they were like the meanest, the ones that came at us the most, especially Rocky. This is Rocky. I'm not sure what we're going to do with Rainy. We were rehabbing him in the house. We got him some B vitamins, given him, put stuff where the frostbite damage was on his comb as well as his wattles. Right now, when he's cock-a-doodle-doing, he sounds a little raspy, so I'm not sure. It would make sense that he might have a respiratory infection of some sort. So we're gonna figure out what we're gonna do with that. Probably some antibiotics of some sort. Rick thinks he notices more of it than what I noticed, because I think he always sounded like he had a funny crow. But we had him in the house for we had him for like 3 days. He didn't do much of anything because he was in rough shape when we brought him in. And then like the 3rd day, he started crowing. So he didn't stay in the house too long. The boys didn't like it. I thought it was funny. So right now he's in the garage, which is usually at least 10-20 degrees warmer. And we're still giving him his medicine and treating his wattles. You can see how his comb and the bottom of his wattles are pretty black, but they were huge and swollen when we brought him in the house. So he seems much better. I don't think he's digging being in here anymore. But we gotta keep him in here for a little while longer and try and set him up for success when we put him back out. I'm really not sure where we're gonna put him when we put him out. I feel like if we put him out and he's in any type of still weakened condition, that the other two will beat him up. And I'm not sure it's fair to Raven to put him in with Beast and Raven, because then it's gonna be 2-on-1. That might be an awful lot on her. So I'm not quite sure what to do. He hasn't been aggressive. He used to be really good to me. He never came at me, he came at Rick. But that's the way Beast was until he just decided he was gonna come after me. So I don't know whether he should go in with the other chickens. Last week there was an ad on Facebook Marketplace. Someone was giving away a coop. And so we were like, that would be fantastic to have an extra coop for like rehabbing, for separating them out when we need to, for when we breed. And so Rick did the inquiry and the woman never responded. So I think that's probably going to be the direction we're going to go in, is to build a separate coop, and then their rooster coop is probably about the same size as the one all the hens are in. We could divide some of that off and just have another entrance so we can keep them separate. So that might be the direction we go. Rick could build, we just have to buy some wood. We have some stuff to work with, but another chicken coop like the ones that the roosters have right now was a freebie that was found on the side of the road. It's always nice when you get freebies. In the house, I have started a lot of different herbs and some spices, mostly herbs, medicinal, and I am preparing them for when I can bring them out. Now that's probably not going to be for another 6 to 8 weeks, and that situation might be where I'm bringing them in and out depending on the weather. So I'm prepping for transplanting when they need to go into bigger containers, and I'm doing that by purchasing 5-gallon buckets. Over there is where I had my herb garden last year, and I had pretty good success with them being in containers. And so I want to keep doing that, and I'm going to expand that and put it on the same side of the house on the other side of where I'm going to expand the strawberry bed. Now, those containers there, those were all freebies, but we haven't had any luck coming across any. So rather than buy 5-gallon buckets from Lowe's and Home Depot, which last I knew were like $5, I'm getting them from Firehouse Subs. Firehouse Subs sells them for $3, so a couple few bucks cheaper than what you would be paying for in a hardware store. I don't need any special lids. Most of the time I can get one with a lid. When I ask for one, a lid comes with it. It takes a couple weeks for the pickle smell to dissipate, but I mean, not a big deal. And I've decided to decorate them with recycled shopping bags. I figure by surrounding the buckets with plastic of some sort, it can help insulate. So it might help keep things cooler when it needs to be cooler. Might keep things the compost, the dirt, soil warmer when it needs to. I don't know. Years ago, a friend of mine, Michelle, had a chance to go on a once-in-a-lifetime missions trip to Africa, to Tanzania, and I was trying to help her raise money for it, because if you've done any missions trip, you know that you've got the responsibility of raising the money. So I was like, how can I do this? I'm, not rich, but want to help as much as you can. And I had seen, I don't know if it was Pinterest or wow, it was a friend of mine had brought over a handbag that was made out of shopping bags, and it was crocheted. Well, I started cutting my shopping bags up into strips and trying to crochet, but it was so rough on the hands. My wrists, I've always had problems. Used to waitress and stuff, and wrists can only take so much, and I couldn't do it. But I had this thought of weaving. So Rick made me a loom, and I cut them into strips. I have an old stand with a clamp on it that was my grandmother's, that she used to make wool rugs, braided wool rugs with. So I would first braid big long strips of these plastic bags, and then I would weave them on the loom. And I made floor mats. So like welcome mats, bath mats, mats you would have in front of the sink, mats that were pretty comfy to stand on if you were in the kitchen for a long period of time, because it gives you a little bit of squish. They weren't slippery. So I was making them. At that time, I was doing a lot of vendor fairs, selling Posh, which was a company that I worked for, a skincare company, and I was selling my inventory. So I just got a rack and started selling these floor mats for $10. They took me like about 13 hours to do each one. It took about 1,200 bags to do a mat. And people from church were saving me the bags, and I was getting bags dropped off and delivered to me all the time. I had this huge amount of bags, but I kept getting through them, and I was able to help her raise some money for her missions trip, which was awesome. Firehouse Subs, when you buy buckets from them, they donate the money. I guess it all goes to first responders' families, which is cool. So rather than just going to a company that's probably in China, which makes plastic buckets, the money that you're paying for your bucket is going to first responders. So that's always cool. So I had Rick take a couple and drill some holes in the bottom for me, and I did one. It's not, I'm working on another mat right now. I filled it up with compost. I'm just gonna let that break down. I'm gonna put it over where I plan on putting the herb garden, the new additions to the herb garden, and just let it break down, because I'm not ready to bring anything out yet. So my plan is to have several buckets in this area here with different herbs growing. The loom wasn't quite big enough, long enough, so you can see it doesn't meet perfectly, but I mean, just reusing something that would normally go into the garbage, or plastic can't really be recycled. I know that they have places at the grocery store where you can bring them, but if I can find another use for them before they're totally beat out, I think it'll look pretty neat. So I need some more potting soil. So my plan for today is to get some more of the more broken down compost, the compost that is got more of it is broken down, and sift it so it's finer and easier for seeds to poke up. So like this stuff is pretty well broken down, but if I put it through these two screens, it makes really good potting soil, and I can get some more seeds started and up pot some of my herbs that I've got growing that are a few inches tall into bigger pots. And then I came up with a plan to make more use of the 2 windows that I can actually put plants in to grow. I have one grow light. So I got all my gear for up potting and transplanting, as well as starting some new seeds with the soil that I sterilized in the oven. I put it in the oven in a roasting pan at 200 for about an hour, and then I have some of my worm castings from the last time I cleaned out the worm bin. And I went ahead and already started with the transplanting of the parsley. Did 4 plants, all 4 of them came up, so that's pretty cool. Don't know what's growing in my hibiscus row here. I think I got a couple hibiscus that started out of the 4, but this doesn't look like it. And then I have a Flavour Fuse, which I think needed to be transplanted sooner than now because I think it's root bound and it's starting to lose color, so I need to get that into a bigger pot. And over here I planted 4 cumin and only 1 came up. So I'll go ahead and put that in a bigger pot and see if I can get that growing. And then I'm gonna start some broccoli, cauliflower, and Brussels sprouts. Rick has returned to the brickyard, digging up more bricks so that when he rototills the upper garden, it won't do any damage to the rototiller. So originally our garden, it came to about here. How about this spot?
No, it was right here.
It was up further?
Right here.
Okay.
This was the end. This is where we extended it.
When we extended it last
this right
year.
here, there's no, it's all good soil. So, no bricks. You can dig right down into it. It's clay, but
So what did you say? We extended it about 12 feet out that way?
okay, yeah.
And you did rototill it, and these bricks were not here.
They've been
Somehow they rise to the surface. I'm still waiting for that gold bullion to rise to the surface. That would be neat.
I did find horseshoes out behind the barn.
Yeah.
After the rain.
When it rains, when we have big rains, we find little treasures around, and we also find a lot of garbage. Whoever lived here years and years ago buried a lot of stuff under this area. What make and model do you think that car is that we started to dig up?
I think there was a Jeep of some sort.
So this will take a while for him to get this sufficient enough so he feels he can rototill, but nothing's going in here till it's time to put broccoli, cauliflower, and Brussels sprouts in, which would be probably 6 weeks from now.
Finding a bunch of coal in here too, various other things, some glass, some metal, pieces of metal from whatever. I think it was a dump site. I don't know if there was another foundation for a building here and they just filled it in. I don't know.
We need to find something that we can take to a guy, you know, a guy that just gives you money, he doesn't ask questions. So I'm heading down to the stream to get some sand out of it. I want to cut a few more cuttings off the blueberry bush that we got so many blueberries off of last year and start some more plants. And from what my father said with experiments he's been doing, I did some cuttings for him, I want to say over a month ago, and the soil, the roots just didn't take. They didn't start rooting. And then he watched some videos and learned that it works better with sand. So I went and got him some sand, and his is doing really well now. The new ones I cut. And I cut one for myself, and I didn't cut it into a bunch of little pieces. I just stuck the whole big stick in the sand, and all the leaves fell off, and it looks like there's new buds. So I think that means it's so far it's so good. I don't know if it's actually rooting. When I take cuttings today, I'm going to cut them into smaller pieces. I think I'm going to put them like in milk jugs so that it's somewhat clear and I can see what's going on in the roots when I put it in the sand. So anytime I come down here, I'm always trying to find a good spot where I can get down there. I'm able to get back up and hopefully not run into any snakes, because I hate snakes. This is where I got down there last time. I think that's what I'm going to do this time. So I started a flat of 24 cauliflower, broccoli, and a flat of 16 Brussels sprouts. Over here, I transplanted out the parsley into a bigger pot and 2 hibiscus that made it. I got some more suckers off the blueberry bush, hoping to be able to come up with 7 more. I got 6 today, but I have one going right there. Blueberry bushes, that would be cool if they took, and I didn't buy any. I don't plan on buying any anyway. I just would like to expand the little grove there. And the rest of the herbs that I have been growing are doing really well here, but I am fast running out of room on my table. But tomorrow, Amazon should be making a visit that I might be able to simplify that, and I'll show you if I can get that all set up. So I waited a little bit too long to conclude the video. It's dark out now, but I wanted to thank you for joining me today as I was getting excited about starting the 2023 garden. I don't think it's ever too early to start seeds. It may prove myself wrong, but we'll see. Thanks for joining. Go ahead and hit like and subscribe and follow Rick and I on our journey. He'll be in more videos as hunting season has come to a close and he'll be home more often. And watch us in our escapades as we try to figure out this homesteading thing. Have a good night. Be a blessing and be blessed.